wind howled down the mountain pass, biting at my face despite the thick woolen scarf wrapped around it. My breath plumed out in front of me, quickly snatched away by the same unforgiving wind. I pulled my collar tighter, wishing I'd donned a hat before leaving the house. I shifted the strap of my briefcase to my other shoulder, suddenly acutely aware of how ridiculous I must look. A city slicker in my knee-high boots slogging through the snow. But this was no time for vanity. I had come too far to turn back now. And besides, there was nothing more in the city that held my interest. For 2 weeks, I'd been chasing a story up every blind alley, speaking to every expert in the paranormal, the occult, or even just the morbidly curious. All because of a phone call from my editor. "We need you to go out to Bergen and write something about that woman found in the woods. There has to be some angle, some hook. Make it snappy," he'd said, hanging up before I could respond. So here I was. I made my way to the small village of Isdal. It was here 25 years ago that a hiker had stumbled upon the charred remains of a young woman. Despite the best efforts of the police, her identity remained a complete mystery. They never even managed to get a full picture of her face. Only her torso had been found, her head and limbs lost to the flames. Still, they produced a composite sketch. A pretty girl with long dark hair, perhaps early 20s. But apart from a few personal belongings found near the body, a purse, some shopping bags and clothes, none of which were ID'd, there were no clues as to who she was or why someone would have killed her. No witnesses, no suspects, no leads. Just another unsolved murder in an already overcrowded filing cabinet. There was only one problem. I looked at the crime scene markers now marking the spot where her remains had been found. She hadn't been burned there. This was a meadow overlooking the fjord. What I'd heard from the locals was that when the body was discovered, the entire area had been covered in snow, making it clear that the woman had been placed there after she'd been killed. The police had even dusted for fingerprints, finding none. Whoever had killed her had clearly taken steps to make sure she wouldn't be identified. So why had they done so? Was there really nothing to this story? Was I wasting my time here? I spotted a weathered-looking man coming my way. He stopped when he saw me struggling with a particularly stubborn patch of snow. "Can I help you?" he asked in heavily accented English. "Thanks, but I think I'll manage," I called back, surprised at how breathless I sounded. Actually, I knew what I sounded like, but hearing myself speak aloud somehow amplified my anxiety. I straightened my shoulders, trying to appear more confident, though I knew it must have been obvious I was out of my element. And I had no idea if this stranger was friendly or not. As I continued on, the hairs on the back of my neck prickled. It couldn't be paranoia, could it? I told myself that there were plenty of people out walking in the snowy landscape. Maybe I was just overreacting. But then he appeared beside me and I started to run. I didn't dare look back, not wanting to confirm my fears. But I could hear his footsteps behind me crunching on the snow, keeping pace with mine. Then I felt his gloved hand grab my shoulder, spinning me around. "Wait," he said, his voice unnaturally deep. "You shouldn't be out here alone. It isn't safe." His eyes were a disconcerting shade of blue against his pale skin, but as I stared into their depths, I noticed the pupils were black, bottomless. Before I could scream, he pressed his fingers against my lips, stifling my cry. Terror flooded through me. What did he want? Was he going to hurt me? Was he responsible for the woman's death all those years ago? Hadn't the police caught the killer? He shook his head slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. No, no, he whispered, his breath hot on my cheek. She's gone. We all are. His words made no sense, yet his eyes held such sadness that I felt my own terror draining away, replaced by pity. And then his face crumpled and he was crying. I didn't mean to hurt you, he choked out. I don't know why I came to you, but I can't stop thinking about her. About us. He sank to his knees in the snow, burying his face in his hands. Oh God, what have I done? It took me a moment to realize he wasn't talking about me. I cautiously backed away, still wary but less afraid. Who are you? I asked softly, kneeling down beside him. Who is us? He didn't answer. Instead, he looked up at me, his eyes wide and unseeing. Is she here? He whispered. Is my love here? He gestured vaguely around him. She should be. She was never very far away. He stood up and brushed the snow off his pants, revealing a name I recognized. Steinar Isdal, the name of the hiker who discovered the body all those years ago. My heart pounded. Could he be the killer? Did he know more than he was letting on? Why had he come to me? Why had he spoken about love? I searched his face for answers, but it was as impassive as stone. Mr. Isdal, do you know why I'm here? Yes, he replied, his voice hollow. You want to know what happened to her? You want to know what happened to us? I want to understand, I admitted, standing up. Why did you kill her? I asked, the word catching in my throat. He looked away, staring out at the snow-covered landscape. She didn't belong here, he finally said, his voice barely audible. But neither did I. He turned back to me, his eyes dark and fathomless. None of us do, he added quietly. And then he was gone, melting away into the white expanse, leaving me alone in the deepening shadows. What did he mean? What had he been trying to tell me? Back in the city, I pored over the case files, searching for something, anything that might explain Steinar's strange behavior, his cryptic words. That was when I found it, a detail that should have jumped out at me immediately. Steinar's sister Uni had died in a fire just 6 months before the discovery of the Isdal Woman. Both women had been burned. Both had been unidentified. Could it be a coincidence? I thought back to Steinor's words. She was never very far away. What if the police had the wrong woman? What if Uni hadn't died in the fire, but had instead been killed by her brother, who then set the fire to cover up the murder? And why? To protect her secret, I realized, turning over a photo of Uni. The woman in the picture was smiling, carefree, beautiful. But there was something else about her, something in her posture, the tilt of her chin, the way she held her shoulders that was oddly familiar. I stood up abruptly, knocking my chair over. Of course, I thought, rushing to the bathroom, staring at my own reflection. Wasn't that the same way I'd been standing in all the pictures, the same way I was standing now, hands clasped in front of me, clutching a silver locket? The same silver locket I'd seen in Uni's picture. Then it hit me. The reason Steinar had approached me in the first place. I wasn't just any random person. I was related to Uni. We shared the same posture, the same mannerisms, the same necklace. We even looked remarkably alike. I was staring at my own double. I had found the missing piece of the puzzle, the link between me and the mysterious woman in the photo. But it came at a terrible cost. I was now the key to solving the case. But the killer was still out there, and he knew my connection to the victim. I hurried to find my phone, knowing I needed to contact the police. But as I ran out of the house, I saw him waiting for me, a ghost in the gathering gloom. I froze. In that instant, he smiled, a slow, sad smile, and beckoned for me to follow. I hesitated. Should I call for help? But then I saw the pain in his eyes and I understood. He wasn't a threat. He needed my help. Together we walked into the darkening landscape, the snow crunching beneath our boots, the wind whipping at our faces. As the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, I reached out and took his hand, feeling the cold seeping through his gloves into my own. We walked on, the silence between us heavy with unspoken words, the secrets of the past finally coming to light. Do you believe in ghosts? Let me know in the comments and check out these other videos from our channel.